SC2L. We are currently tied up between Team Root and Team Liquid. I am in control, joined by Day 9. Day 9, how are you?
Dude, I am so pumped. Next match, Teja versus Yu-Gi-Oh! On Derelict Watcher. I mean, this is a map that really tests your positional awareness. It's hard to hold almost any base. Big, wide open spaces. It's going to be awesome.
Big, wide open spaces does in my opinion, that's a well-said thought there. It's very wide open in the middle of the map. But of course, each base is like its own little island, though, in terms of your first three. You have a pretty easily defensible ramp leading up into your bases. But then you have to go down into shark-infested waters with how wide open the middle of the map is. But we'll get there in a second. Sean, who are we playing with here?
Down in the bottom left-hand corner, long known as the prime ace for Team Liquid. He has only recently been matched by Hero in that department. It is Liquid Teja.
And his adversary for this match from Team Root, once again, it is Yu-Gi-Oh! This time showing us his ZVT. He had an excellent comeback victory in that ZVZ. Sean saw it coming for a while. I was in disbelief. And then a couple of fungals later, and all of a sudden he was the winner.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing that StarCraft 2 tends to be something that's very much so... I guess I would say it's sort of decided by the decisions you make before the big moment.
Right.
You know, once a game starts to tip in someone's favor, it tends to snowball. That's why we tend to see games be very, very even, and then suddenly, oh, big collapse, and it's done. But almost never do we see what Yu-Gi-Oh! Did, which is just this really long, slow decline into sudden, boom, I'm winning.
Yeah, it was really weird. He was down in mutas. He was down in drones the whole game. That was the part that was weird for me, because he seemed to be, like, keeping up in all forms of economy. It didn't seem to matter that he was literally down, like, 15 drones. That was the weird part. And of course, you were actually talking about that. It came down to better use of lings, more intelligent use of like Mutalist harass. He played the game out better, outside of, I would say, economy. In that regard, Zenio seemed to be the better player, but it did not serve him in terms of the victory. Now we do see Yu-Gi-Oh! Getting that 15 hatch and then the spawning pool. What do you think about this drone scout? What was that for?
You know, what I'm hoping it's for is that he was checking to see if it was command center first, and then he was going to be like, well, Team Root builds hatches at the ramp, so let's do it, you know. But now that he's spotted that it is, in fact, going to be a Reaper, this is generally where you'll see players skip the Ling production, and they'll just kind of go more typically for a whole bunch of drones and queens and that sort of thing.
And this Reaper will be quite annoying. He's actually already got a second Reaper queued up. I'll be interested to see if he opts to have that hang out at home and stop the ever so pesky like 2-Ling counter that then snipes the SCV constructing the command center. That's something that's kind of cool that goes on these days too.
Sorry, I was coughing right when you finished the sentence, and I was like, all right, what do I do? What do I do? Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of position where I think that Teja has a couple of follow-ups, all of which are aggressive. The most common one, it looks like, is what we are seeing, which is going to be the just a straight reactor. So it's going to be the mega space control. Reapers are fast and can pick things off quickly. Same with Hellions. None of them are particularly great in direct engagements, but that's fine. You just want to absolutely shut down the creep spread, because creep spread is really the only way that you can defend that third base as Yu-Gi-Oh! So,
I think you're absolutely right.
Teja.
That should be what the factory's for, although there is, actually, as we watch a little bit of light Reaper harass. Okay, that is a reactor. For some reason, my eyes are telling me Tech Lab, but I'm just completely wrong there. 2 Reapers now dual-wielding against this Zerg player, and with speed just now starting, that does mean that, for the most part, they're confined here. They're stuck here.
You know, I will say, there's something a lot better about seeing a reactor for a Tech Lab versus building a reactor for a Tech Lab. That C and that X button are mighty close to each other. I'm sure every Terran player has felt that pain when they're like, all right, time to go double Hellion, and they just like see that Tech Lab there, and they're like, they just like start researching stim.
Yep.
Fix it. Oh my god, fix it.
Excellent control from these Reapers. They're actually going to go ahead and try to whittle down these Queens. You'll notice they're both in yellow and orange health. While 2 Reapers don't pose like a straight-up fight threat to these Queens, if the Queens get sloppy and continue to kind of test their luck against those regenerating Reapers, they will die.
Yeah. And you know, one thing to note in terms of just general timing, look at this. We are at 6 minutes this is generally the time when Zerg wants to have their expo started, and it's been delayed ever so slightly. Look at this; it's around 6:30, and that's when Yu-Gi-Oh's starting. And this is really what the early opening game is about. I mean, if you watch these on ×8 speed, or maybe you're one of those psychopaths that doesn't have the game timer on, you might not notice that it's really so late, but it is 30 seconds delayed thus far. It's not like in Brood War where you actually used to have to open up the replay and be like, was I slow that game? I don't know. And you'd have to just kind of inherently know, and you're like, oh, I was late. And then you'd go into the next game and be like, hope I'm not late this time because there's no in-game timer.
You're exactly right. And this is a bit of a traditional follow-up to that Reaper opening. It's 6 Hellions and 2 Reapers. It looks a little bit comical, but due to their speed, they're actually a huge threat to Queens that are out here, and they're, of course, a gigantic cancel factor to Lings. Their Lings are not an issue here. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a bit of trouble in terms of his creep spread, and maybe even his third if he doesn't handle this very well.
Yeah, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh's, he's got to be really, really careful because, well, both players do, because this is everything for Teja. Teja just has to maximize damage. He has to get those Reapers in the front. He wants the Reapers taking the initial hits. They heal up. He has a very weak Hellion leading the charge. He is going to lose that. He picks off a Queen. That's okay for Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my god! Did Teja get too aggressive?
Well, he has lost a couple of Hellions here. Excuse me, just one in a Reaper. But Lings are going to circle around here to get an idea. They're going to peer behind the curtain for the first time this game, I feel, outside of the Overlord. He really hasn't had a lot in terms of information, so this is his first little glance at what's going on. And he does actually see the double engineering bay as well as the bunker, but the double engineering bay does tell him that he is in fact facing bio. Not that this is like a big mech map or anything like that, but that is still a comfort, I would say, to scout out exactly what you're facing.
I mean, Teja is just keeping a hawk's eye on these Hellions. I mean, he is constantly having them select, and the Zerglings are trying to swoop around from the back end, but it looks like Teja already spotted the intercept. He gets some nice shots off.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets like a half surround, picks off most of them, but it looks like this is going to be well in the Zerg's favor. I mean, 2 Hellions, no problem for the Queen. Suddenly that creep spread is going to explode.
Yep, and he's been trying to do that for a long time. As you said, it's not like he's not dedicated to the creep spread. He actually has 3 Queens literally just kind of idling out here. I think he's got a grand total of 6 Queens, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so he really wants to get that creep spread going. And on an open map like this, that is one of the ways the Zerg can take advantage of how open this map is, because if you're walking out on creep mid-map and you don't know where the attack's going to come from, because a full circumference is definitely possible with no restrictions in the map, that's very scary for the Terran player.
Dude, seriously. I mean, no vision is the least comfortable spot to be in for Terran. So much so that I think the Teja's probably not even going to really do much other than drops.
A little bit of hesitation there. I have to agree.
Sorry, that was just my observer hack, Jeff. Don't worry about that. I was just turning that one off. I'm trying to stream cheat and watch you observe. You know, this is a really weird play from Yu-Gi-Oh. He is actually going for 11 Roaches, 11 Hydras, 14 Hydras. I mean, Ling Hydra Baneling is a composition that is strong, quite solid against Biomine, but that we don't really see a lot.
He also doesn't have any of the upgrades on the Hydra Den start. There's range.
Finally, range. I mean, a rarely used fact is the fact that Hydralisks have range 6 when fully upgraded, and Marines have range 5. So that could definitely, I mean, that definitely does really help in those engagements. But, I mean, Teja's already gotten to power up. And, oh, look at this smart move from Teja. He scanned. He saw that it was Roach Hydra. He's not going mine anymore. He's started tank production.
And that is just the kind of scan that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was not hoping for, because like you said, if it is that bio-mine style, this man style of Roach Hydra eats that alive. But with tanks, as time goes on, the Roach Hydra style becomes much more ineffective. What I'd like to see from Teja is a little bit of creep fighting going on, which is, I think, what he's moved out to do with this army that has the medevacs to support it so it can speed away. But he otherwise should not be aggressive. I feel like as the tank count gets higher, his army gets better. But in the critical mass of tanks, I feel like that advantage falls in Yu-Gi-Oh's corner.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, like, looks like Teja couldn't agree with us more too. He's getting a second factory. I mean, this is sort of one of those textbook dangers, is getting a little overambitious, because Yu-Gi-Oh is going to rapidly get well far ahead. But look at this, Yu-Gi-Oh is already preparing to transition out, getting Banelings, Mutalisks, +1 Zergling attack, Carapace. This is one of the weirdest. He's like going to go for a really slow Ling Baneling. But in the meantime, he doesn't have any preparations for this drop. There's the drop.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to try to attack here, but between the Widow Mines, the 3 bunkers, and even just the 1 tank, I don't know what he can hope to accomplish, but I guess we'll see here. He's going for it. The Roach Hydra's doing what they can. Meanwhile, a double drop going inside the natural. There's 0 defenses there. That base is in a lot of trouble. The Roach Hydra is getting thinned out. They did crumple the defenses, but I feel like the continuation's just not there for them.
Yeah, I mean, these are slow units off creep. The Hydras don't have that speed boost, but there's not even really going to be a capacity to build. Hydras and Natural's going to go down. The 4th base is under assault. Tage is just going to calmly pull all of his workers, surround us from the backside, and wait. Whoa, those Roaches are super Roaches, man. How did they kill off that much stuff? I mean, the Hydros must have been firing not at the Marines, because right now Tage has lost almost all those SCVs, but I mean, this Doom Drop.
Yeah.
It was not even designed to be a Doom Drop. It was exactly that.
I have to agree with you. I feel like the attack from Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a success if it weren't for the fact that behind this, he got absolutely trashed. I mean, he lost the hatchery that was mining as natural. He lost a good chunk of the drones. His 4th base was under attack by a single Marine, so he survived. But he's not left in a good spot. He's down 20 supply. Tasia, as a Terran player, he drops a few mules at that 3rd, and all of a sudden it's nearly at full capacity in terms of income. And that's not a complaint.
Wow.
It's just a fact. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's the drop at the top side. 3-3 en route for Tasia. Once again, he can just play quite passively.
Yeah.
He lifts, he's going to go into the main base. He doesn't think that there's any Mutalisks coming. I don't think that he spotted the Spire that was behind that natural expansion. No, it looks like he did not. And all of a sudden, Mutalisks are going to show up, and Tasia's going to be going, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're transitioning into Ling Muta? And then, I mean, what are you to do if you're in Tasia's position? I mean, you've got to push right now. And oh my god, Tasia's already beat everyone to the punch. Look at that huge army moving out.
And I have to say, like, Hero before him, I feel like these Mutalisks are more scary if it weren't for the fact that Tasia knows about them on his half of the map. Like, he's already going to have missile turrets, but he doesn't even need to do that because he's pushing in the middle of the map, and he knows those Mutalisks aren't just going to counterattack. So Tasia's playing this like a book.
There it is. Mutalisks try to spring in. Perfect spread from Tasia.
This is it, man.
Absolutely everything. GG.
And well
Tasia
played.
wins the series to 3-2 in the favor of Team Liquid.
And I just have to go back to what you were saying, because, again, it's such a good point. Like, the reason why Tasia and Hero are the 2 guys that you talk about at the tail end of most tournaments that they enter, and certainly as ace players for Team Liquid, one of the best teams on the planet, it's because of things like we see in these games. Like Tasia, he's so actively dropping and he's so actively out on the map that he finds out the important things at the right time. Not when he's not on the receiving end of this information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things that the best responses are not the ones that are literally like you presenting this and then me responding to it. Right. It's when it's already prepared. It's like, okay, your Mutalisks are done, and now they're ready to meet my push that's already at your front base. Good luck harassing with those, that sort of thing.
Yep, you're exactly right. So Tasia, even off just the 3 bases, seems to overrun Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Does drop that, and as Sean says, now 3-2, which means we're going to go to our next match, which is a potential game point for Team Liquid. And I think, it's the match you were excited for. It's Sage versus TLO. Root is going to have... I think this is a very aptly placed Sage. Yu-Gi-Oh! And Sage, I think Sage is the better player. I think they would all agree that he is the big ace for them. And he needs to win to push them to that ace match against TLO. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, it'll be that potentially final match if Team Liquid has their way. Don't go anywhere.